segment here. And Kevin, do me a favor. Everyone already saw my jersey earlier, but can you show everyone the jersey? Oh, a number 6 for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, normally if the NBA play-in tournament wasn't
that a Jeremy Maclin jersey?
Normally if the NBA play-in tournament wasn't starting tomorrow, the WNBA draft wasn't today, this might have been our lead topic, especially for the guy that is to my right. However, we get to it here at the end of the show, but we need to get to it in general, and that is, Kevin, the fact that your Philadelphia Eagles fly. I almost said something a little too much there. As the Eagles, they signed DeVonta Smith to a 3-year extension. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe off the top of my head, it was $75 million, 51 guaranteed over 3 years. Perfect. Wow, look at that numbers. Anyways, Kevin, starting things off with Philly's own, not actually, but the Philly fan. What did you think about this signing? Because I know that we talked about it a little bit in the group chat, but share your thoughts with the listeners.
I was absolutely shocked. You know, when they all off season were signing all these other guys, everyone on Eagles Twitter is saying DeVonta Smith. We need a DeVonta Smith extension, and I was thinking north of 100 mil easy. You know, he's coming out here and dominated. Had 2,000 yards in his first 3 seasons. And his first actual season ended at 982. So I mean, basically 1,000 yard season. So he's coming in and being very productive. He is. I'm going to scream this from the rooftops. He is the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL. Argue with your mama. I ain't got time today. So, DeVonta Smith, over his first 3 years, 3,000 yards, 3,178 yards, 352 targets, 19 touchdowns with 64 yards per game. He has had 3.1 thousand yards over his 3 years. Let me tell you some other guys that had 3,000 yards over their first 3 seasons. You'll know a lot of these guys. Justin Jefferson, Randy Moss, Odell Beckham, A.J. Green, Michael Thomas, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, Jerry Rice, DeAndre Hopkins, Anquan Bolden, CeeDee Lamb, and Jalen Waddle. I only named one other wide receiver 2. So for Jalen Waddle, DeVonta Smith to be on this list is absolutely insane. As it stands right now, I talked to Toddy about it earlier. The market is going to reset, but as of April 15th, DeVonta Smith is tied for the 4th highest paid annually receiver with A.J. Brown at $25 million. First, you have Tyreek at 30. You have Devontae Adams at 29. You have Cooper Kupp at 26.7, and then you have the Eagles foundation at receivers bringing in $50 million annually a year. DeVonta Smith added 50 receivers to average 11 or more targets with 20-plus receptions. The whole list of the 50 receivers to complete 72% of those targets, there's only one name on that list, and it's DeVonta Smith. So I was telling Toddy, you got to pay to play. He's not going to – I did not think he was going to take a homie deal, and that's what he did. You're hearing guys like CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk refusing to play on their 5th-year option. Howie Roseman was able to get DeVonta Smith to play on his 5th-year option for $15.6 million and then throw the 3 for $75 on top of that. So Howie Roseman is continuing to extend this team. All of our star players will be on the roster until 2027. At 2028, you know, like me and Toddy talked about earlier, A.J. Brown turns 30 years old and he'll be up for a contract. So everyone else is signed until 28, but A.J. ends at 27. So hell of a deal by Howie Roseman and DeVonta Smith, homegrown Eagle. And I'm just happy that he's going to be here long term.
Yeah. Jaevon, putting all bias aside, I heard the name Jalen Waddle. To me, that's a better wide receiver 2 than DeVonta Smith, and that is no disrespect to DeVonta Smith. I mean, the guys played together at Alabama. They were in the same draft class. And DeVonta Smith went higher and won a Heisman. And so DeVonta's obviously gotten his flowers. But I think, and also to me, Kevin's going to love this part, but to me, Jalen Hurts is a superior quarterback to Tua Tagovailoa. So for Jalen Waddle to be doing what he has been with a Tua versus DeVonta with Jalen, to me, there's a difference, and there's another Alabama comparison. The synchronicity between the Dolphins and the Eagles is actually kind of funny in that sense. But as I was saying, Jaevon, putting all bias aside, because it's well noted that you and I are diehard San Francisco 49ers fans, not even factoring in our team's receivers, Jalen Waddle is a better wide receiver 2 to me, and so that makes DeVonta not the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL. That's kind of a pointless debate at this point because they both could go on to become wide receiver 1s on their own team, just like we think that T. Higgins has the potential to. But what did you think of this overall extension, Jaevon? And what kind of an impact do you think DeVonta will make on the Eagles over the next 3 years?
I thought this was a brilliant move by Howie Roseman. He saw the future basically because he knows that the receiver market is definitely going to be reset. As Kevin already mentioned, all the guys that are on those types of deals, like I think he said Cooper Kupp was in the top 5 as one of the highest paid receivers. That's definitely going to reset over when Justin Jefferson signs, whenever Jamar Chase signs, and we already have Tyreek Hill making like $30 million. Devontae Adams is making $28 million. So he's a guy that when his contract came out, we were like, whoa. And then when Tyreek came out, it was like, okay, those are like the one-of-one types of guys. And Kev already mentioned AJ Brown. He's making like 24, 25 or something like that.
25.
Yeah, he's making about 25. So he's kind of middle of the pack. So him and DeVonta are going to be tied. But DeVonta, I don't think his deal starts over. I think he's playing out this year. Then he plays out his 5th-year option. And then his money starts kicking.
This is 5th-year option. This next season is going to be his 5th year.
So
it kicks in at the end of next season. It will kick in his 3-year extension.
So, yes, he won't even be making that money until after next season. So, they're kind of playing the smart game because A.J. Brown's contract is going to be up. They're paying Saquon right now. Now, does Jalen Hurts' contract kicks in? I think next year as well.
Next year as well.
So, that's when everybody will start to be getting paid and things will start to get a little bit tighter. But for right now, they kind of had that super team. You kind of get to keep those 2 receivers in A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, and you have a Saquon Barkley as well. So right now you're trying to squeeze as much as you can out of Jalen Hurts. Had a down year last year compared to the year of him going to the Super Bowl when Shane Steichen was calling plays. And then all of a sudden you had Brian Johnson, the guy who was calling plays last year. And now you're getting Kellen Moore calling plays for Jalen Hurts. And you would like to see the results that you were getting when Shane Steichen was calling plays, and you have all these weapons around him. So you wanted to get the maximum amount out of Jalen Hurts this year. I think the real question is the market is definitely going to be changing. And for me and Shaun, we're seeing DeVonta Smith get this 3-year, $75 million extension, and you're kind of looking at what does this mean for Brandon Ayuk? I think that this means that the price definitely goes up for him. He's an all-pro receiver. His numbers have drastically increased year by year, and I think the longer the 49ers wait, the more expensive his contract does get. We're already looking at the salary cap that keeps going up. We saw DeVonta Smith get 25. This has to put Brandon Ayuk in the $25 to $28 million range. And that's not as crazy as it thinks, because I think when Justin Jefferson signs his contract, it's going to be like $35 million. It's going to be an insane amount of money. It'll probably be the most we've ever seen from a wide receiver, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that this actually helps the 49ers because, as Kevin was saying, the initial projections for how much a player like a DeVonta Smith or a Brandon Ayuk might end up commanding, especially in free agency.
And CeeDee Lamb, too. He's going to want some money as well.
Exactly, and CeeDee Lamb. Has Jalen Waddle gotten paid yet? I don't think so. And so Jalen Waddle, throw him in that conversation as well. All of these guys, what was it, from the 2020 draft class, right? All of these guys are needing to get paid.
Nico, Amon-Ra, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Jefferson are all the next receivers to come up on big payments.
I mean, is 25 annually? Is that a lot?
That's a lot.
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
Well, let me tell you who's under that. So you have Stephon Diggs at 24,
years.
DK at 24, Devo at 23.9, and Terry McClary at 23.2.
Salary cap has gone up. The market it's going to keep resetting. I was telling Kevin earlier when we were talking on the phone, when Dak Prescott first signed his contract for $40 million, it was like NASA went to the moon part 2. But when we kind of come back and look at it, we're seeing, Joe Burrow, We saw Patrick Mahomes get $500 million. We saw Justin Herbert sign his contract, and they're like 50, and Kyler Murray is in that range. So the Dak Prescott contract didn't look as bad as it does now as it did back then. So I think we're going to see that same type of deal as far as when it comes to receivers. We're going to see all these big money names come out, and like Kevin was saying, Cooper Kupp's like one of the top paid, Stephon Diggs, like these guys are starting to get older. So the new wave of receivers are going to come, and they're going to start to get, their piece of the pie as well. And we'll see those gargantuan numbers. Like once upon a time, Michael Thomas was the first $100 million receiver to sign. I think that's ever. So we're going to see big money contracts for receivers in the incoming years, months, pretty soon here. Yeah, weeks, pretty soon here.
Yeah, shout out to Slant Boy from the Ohio State University. And